Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my other social media as well. I'm on both Facebook and Twitter. All relevant links are in the description below. And of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of my characters, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Finally, before I begin my Simsational story, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with. Let's go. Today's story is from Kelly-Anne Kalthis & Co. and we're at chapter 17. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though, so without further ado. Kelly-Anne Kalthis was heavily pregnant with her 6th child, and she was definitely not looking forward to its birth half as much as her new fiancé, Kyle Harris, was. This was his first child ever, and he was excited. The couple had had a fast-paced relationship so far, filled with a lot of drama, and he hoped that a baby would help settle things down. Kelly-Anne, on the other hand, had already had 5 children before this, and so she knew that although their baby would definitely change their lives forever, it probably wouldn't fix things like Kyle wanted it to. Kyle's job as a minor crime lord meant that he slept in the mornings, went to work in the afternoons, and came home late at night, or early in the morning if he went to the club after work, which he often did. This left Kelly-Anne with a lot of time to herself, which she did not use productively. Oh, she kept the apartment clean. She had to, or risk facing Kyle's rage. But overall, the housework really didn't take up much of her time. Once the housework was done, she was free to spend the rest of her day drinking on the couch, which she often did. Kelly-Anne had drank through all her previous pregnancies, and this one was no exception. The only difference was that she now kept her alcoholism hidden. Kelly-Anne had never had the time to develop any real hobbies before now, and she just couldn't think of a single thing to do with herself all day other than drink and watch TV. So that was it. That and making dinner for Kyle, of course, was her life now. Kelly-Anne hated it. Oh, it had been awesome living with Kyle before she'd fallen pregnant. They used to go out together, go dancing and have fun. But now, she and Kyle barely spent any time together these days. He took her completely for granted, and they hadn't been together for months now either. He said he didn't want to hurt the baby, which was ridiculous. She'd tried to tell him it didn't work that way, but he wouldn't listen. It was no wonder she cheated on him. It wasn't an everyday thing, but at least 2 or 3 times a week, while Kyle was out and once she had finished with the housework, Kelly-Anne would sometimes text her boyfriend to come over. Not that he was really her boyfriend. They didn't ever talk about life or anything. He didn't care about her, and she didn't care about him. They literally only saw one another for one reason. Once Kelly-Anne had texted him, Darnell Paris would make his way over to her apartment. She had been to his house once, but it was distasteful and dirty. Darnell worked odd jobs. They'd met during his stint as a repairman, and he proudly led an unapologetically bachelor lifestyle. He was a lazy slob who drank heavily, and in so many ways, Kelly-Anne herself didn't know what it was she saw in him. Their time together was fantastic, though. She had always found that she was so much more sensitive and in the mood when she was pregnant. She loved that she could just call Darnell up whenever she wanted and have him come over and take care of her needs, like Kyle wouldn't. As soon as her stomach had started to swell, Kyle had started to starve her, and so she justified her cheating to herself as his fault. She did feel guilty sometimes. Of course she did. Kelly-Anne wasn't an unfeeling monster, and especially with this new baby moving around inside her and her hormones raging, Kelly-Anne would spiral silently inside herself as she compulsively snacked to try to silence her thoughts about her other 5 children, as well as the one she was about to have. Kelly-Anne's first 5 children, Kelsey, Kevin, Keith, Carissa, and Kaylee, all lived alone together in the small apartment Kaylee's father, Gino Grubb, who was a landlord, had provided the family years ago. Much like the rest of their fathers, for they all had their own, Gino had no other contact with them, and neither did Kelly-Anne these days. She didn't want to be a bad mum, but she knew she already was one. She'd literally abandoned her first 5 children and promised Kyle never to speak to them again. Kelly-Anne knew that it was too late to fix things with her older children, but what about this next baby? Could she change things and become the kind of parent that her new child deserved? Things did feel different this time. She wasn't sure what it was exactly. It became pretty clear what exactly it was that was different this time around halfway through her labour, though, when instead of being done with one baby, suddenly Kelly-Anne felt the need to push again, and out popped a second baby. Twins! She had had twins. A boy and a girl that they very quickly decided to name Kylie and Kyle. Kelly-Anne Kalthis was now a mother of 7. Not that it felt like it. Kelly-Anne was alone with her twins. Having always used Kelsey and the other kids as little helpers, this was the first time Kelly-Anne had had to look after a newborn all on her own since Kelsey was a baby, and it was a damned difficult adjustment. Baby Kyle took after his father already, screaming loudly whenever he wanted anything and always waking his much more placid sister Kylie. Adult Kyle was little help in this sudden childcare crisis. He was always leaving to go to work. Kelly-Anne had known it would be like this, but that still didn't make it any easier. This was more solo childcare than she'd done in years, and as anyone who's ever had to take care of twins can tell you, it's not twice as much work with 2. It's more like 3 or 4 times as much work. 3 or 4 times as much work, but still just as little sleep. Kelly-Anne was pretty sure she was more miserable now than she'd ever been before in her entire life. Oh, this just wasn't fair. She absolutely hated children, and yet somehow her fate seemed to be surrounded by them at all times, Twins! What had she ever done to deserve twins? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 17 of Kelly-Anne Kalthis and Co. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. And hey, maybe think about sharing my channel with a friend. Or don't, it's your life. Anyway, bye!